Time to look at some data now. Babaji Dogusawo joins us. Thank you for coming out this morning.
Good morning, guys.
One over the week, it was a huge one. When this data, not this kind of, the other kind of data, even though we'll come to it, but the NCC, Nigerians, the Senate, telecom companies today responded saying they don't like the fact that that floor plan had been taken away. But we also saw the concerns from Nigerians and how they spoke up about this. Tell us, you looked into this matter. What did you find?
There are lots of things to talk about this morning. I hope we'll be able to discuss it all. But there are two, within the last 48 hours, the NCC released their statement. And among so many things that were in that statement, two things of great importance stood out. Now, what were these two things? The first is, the NCC said, yes, they weren't fixing the price. They said they were going to be determining the floor price. So they said, yes, they weren't fixing, but they want to determine the floor price. But the second and the most important thing that they said was, they gave us the reason why they took that decision. Now listen to them. They say the primary reason was to create, and in their words, a level playing field. So today, let's talk about the level playing field. We can't have that discussion about a level playing field without talking about what happens on the field of football.
There's a field level there.
And then we'll see how it all connects. And so this Sunday, for instance, you have one of the small clubs, Bournemouth, playing Liverpool. Now listen carefully to this. Bournemouth has a stadium capacity of less than 12,000. They are playing Liverpool that has a stadium capacity of above 54,000. Now, that's not a level playing field.
But they're playing away in Bournemouth's home, and so, in fact, what about the home advantage?
So let me tell you this. Since 1927, and that's about 9 decades ago, Bournemouth has never beaten Liverpool.
But it's still 11-11.
Exactly. So if you look at the valuation of both clubs, significantly different. One is less than 150 million, the other is above 500 million. So in reality, you ask, is that a level playing field?
Let's not go too far, because there are people who throw it at us saying, what are you guys talking about? Leicester just won the league. How many do they have? Where were they? They were nobody, but they are champions.
And exactly that is what I'm saying. So it makes us ask the question, why do the developed economies promote fields that are not level? And only one answer, and that's because a level playing field is the enemy of risk taking. And we know that risk taking is the father of innovation and invention. So in simple terms, a level playing field strangles the thinking of innovation and invention. And if there's any plan to even create a level playing field, then it will make things even go back. So what we need is really not a level playing field. What we need is a transparent field. But more than that is, how important is even the telco and data sector to Nigerians? And there are three ways to look at it. The first is, let's look at the results we had about Nigerians who had completed the BVN registration. This came out about 2 months ago. So we have on one hand 47 million Nigerians who have bank accounts, completed their banking registrations. Now on the second hand, we have 153 million Nigerians who have mobile phones. Now that creates an impression that the mobile phone today is more important to Nigerians than the bank account. Now that's the first. And the second is, remember the elections that held last year on that Saturday, that hot Saturday. Now, at the end of that election, the total number of people that voted, 29 million. Today, the total number of Nigerians with data on their phones is above 92 million. So Chamberlain, here's what it means. Nigerians will prefer to face their phones than to face the sun. Now, the third thing is, let's look at how important is all of this and what it really means to the lives of several families.
Pardon me, before we go to that third part, let's quickly get Mark. I think she has a follow-up on that question, on that response. Mark?
Yes, on the very first part that Jide raised in terms of a level playing field, you know, there's a difference between the number of fans and that a club has and the field of play itself. So, for instance, if the field on one side, say the side for Bournemouth is different from the field for the side of Liverpool, there definitely will be issues. If the grass planted on one side is different from the grass planted at the other side, there will definitely be issues. If the field is slopey, for instance, tilting more towards one end, there definitely will be issues. Those are the kinds of things that some people would say constitute level playing field, not the number of fans. You don't think so?
Okay, Mark, I like that narrative, but here's the real narrative. So you have a club, for instance, on the 10th of this month as well, Arsenal will be playing Stoke City. So yes, you're right, we've got 11 players on each side, so that looks level. But are those 11 players from Arsenal really valued at the same way the 11 players from Stoke City are valued? So here's what it means. Even though we have 11 players on each side, on Arsenal's side, we have players like Mesut Ozil, Oliver Giroud, and Alexis Sanchez that we know are more valuable, almost more valuable today than the entire Stoke City club. So even though you have those numbers 11-11, not all players are equal. So in essence, there's really there's not such a thing as a level playing field. A level playing field is really a myth. It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Sorry to interrupt you.
So a level playing field is often...
That's what the customers, beg your pardon, that's what the telco should be bringing to the fore. And I think at the end of the day, that's what will determine where customers will go. But in terms of level playing field, in terms of the things that FIFA itself controls, some people will say it is level enough. So for instance, a referee is supposed to be impartial. There are certain rules for how the pitch should be. And I think that even there are rules for home and away games and things like that. So as much as possible, they try to be fair. And I think that's what a lot of people will say constitute eventually what these telcos will bring to the fore. I mean, some will definitely be stronger than some. Some will have a bigger, bank account than others. Some will be able to invest more than others. There's nothing anybody can do about that. But in terms of what the regulators can control, isn't that what level playing field is about?
So here's it. How do you want to define a level playing field? Will it be a level playing field based on only price? Will it be a level playing field based on quality? Now, there's no international definition that stipulates that price is the benchmark for a level playing field. There's also no international benchmark that clearly stipulates what the maximum market share of a company will be in an environment for you to determine that it's not playing level. But since we're talking about price, let's make it even more clear on how level is today's price. So let's compare the data price in other economies. Let's look at the US market, for instance. We've got some among the big players there. We've got T-Mobile, we've got Sprint. As of today, T-Mobile has a $40 plan for 3 gigabytes worth of data. So with $40, you get 3 gig, and you get 2 more things. You get unlimited text, and you get unlimited calls for within the US. But here's what it means in simple terms. The minimum wage in the US is $7.25. So it means if you're working in the US and you work halfway through your day, you've made enough money to buy this 3 gigabytes worth of data plan. Half day, not a full day, half day. And you have 3 gig. Now let's come back home. For you to have 3 gig, you need pretty much about 2,000 naira. The minimum wage, 18,000 naira, that's an average of 580 naira per day. So it simply means for that same gentleman who's on a minimum wage here, an average of 580 naira per day, you will need to save for approximately 4 to 5 days for him to buy 3 gigabyte worth of data. So in Nigeria, to have 3 gig on a minimum wage, you pretty much need to save for 4 days. In the US, to buy 3 gig, that comes with unlimited calls and text. All you need to do is work half of the day. Now, that already makes the Nigerian entrepreneur or even the Nigerian researcher not to be able to compete on the global scale. Because the cost of internet relative to income is more affordable in the US. And that significantly impacts the kind of results entrepreneurs get here. Because clearly you're not going to use all of your monthly income or wage to buy internet, irrespective of how important the internet is to you.
But we see the telecom companies saying that, well, prices have got to be set at realistic prices, or realistic rates, so as to ensure that they, the operators themselves, provide top quality service, because if that doesn't happen, it will keep dwindling.
So here's the argument. The operators currently are pricing at, some are pricing at 20 kobo per kilobyte, some are pricing at 40 kobo. What the regulator is saying is increase your prices to a minimum price of 90 kobo per kilobyte. But let's even try and create an argument for that. So if the telco operators increase their prices, in simple terms, it means the gross margin that they will be earning on data increases. Now, once that increases and if volumes don't drop from users, which is unlikely to significantly happen, it means that the profits that telcos will earn would increase. That's higher dividend, not just for their shareholders. Because profits have increased, it means the tax revenue to even the federal government would increase. So the logic is perhaps if all of this does happen, the government making more money from the telcos will also have more money to fight malaria, send young girls to school, and also fight crime.
In conclusion, they are warning us, the telecom operators now, that if this is left the way it is, there will be a sustained deterioration in the quality of data services across all networks. And then you know what to think about that. That's where we'll have to end this morning, Julia. Thank you for coming on today. So we'll hope to see, we're keeping our tabs on that as it does play out. That's the show today, and for the week, we thank you for watching. I'm Chamberlain also.
I hope we don't have blackmailers in the country, electricity, and now telcos. Welcome on board. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sulaiman. Alede.
Well, we'll still await the explanation from the NCC. Thank you. I'm Maokbe Ogun.